power mat back again. We're going to install the CPU and water block for the processor. So again, same ASUS motherboard that we've been working with. This is a retaining nut. Once the chip is in right, and you can tell that by the little divots on the side, just lower the socket into place. Make sure the guides are going up under the nut. It'll seem kind of stiff, but that's the way that it works. Now the CPU is in place. We're going to take a little bit of our Arctic MX4, put basically about a little P there, which may be a hair too much, but we'll see. And we're going to start to move it out and work it until we see if we're going to need any more. So there's a nice layer of on there. As you can see, there's still a fair amount on the card, but it is basically a complete coverage. Now, what I haven't done is unbox this EK, well, I kind of have, but I haven't in front of the camera, the water block. There is a myriad of parts that comes with this EK water block, and I do mean a myriad, a crap load. And we'll talk about that. Different plates and the beautiful block itself. Now, water block, protective coating. Because of the fluid I'm using basically an acetal that is clear, so that you can see the fluid moving around in it. Of course, this is the protective covering for the copper transfer plate. And these are many, many, many back plates. So what you saw in here, basically amongst the tons of hardware, are these guys. These guys are the devices that cause the water to be applied to the CPU, the heat block, in different ways. You can't really, you kind of can see it through the translucent, but they fit down in there and they cause the water to be deflected and or routed. If you can imagine, this block has been ground with thousands of little fingers, like little cones sticking up. So the water goes in, it rushes through those cones, and the heat is peeled off. I'm sure you can't see it, but it looks like little combs, like if you're combing your hair. The water rushes through those fins and then out the other side, and that's what carries the heat away. These devices cause the water to be transferred in different ways to remove either more or less heat depending upon the flow. So that's a preference that you can decide, and you can break this down by removing the screws here and put in the spreader that you would like. This comes with the standard one, which is what I'll be using at least as a start. Well, as it turns out, there is a plate and there is a rubber kind of grommet. Okay, as per the instructions, the gasket placement is right and everything, but I'm concerned that some of these leads that are sticking up from the components on the other side may puncture through the gasket and cause shorts on the metal plate. So I'm just kind of pruning the tips off prior to installation. This is a personal preference, not a requirement of the document. So again, being someone who comes from the world of electronics, I know a lot about shorts, so I don't want any of them. Then test fit the gasket again, or the grommet as they refer to it. It looks, you know, nothing should actually touch. Everything looks like a pretty good fit now. Before it kind of stood up just a little bit. Right now I am installing the standoffs, and just roughly see. Yep, that's definitely the right one. So it says no pliers, hand tight only. So that's pretty simple. Hand tight only. Hand tight only it is. Going to remove the cover, and boy does that have a shine to it. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm guessing you do. Okay, very important. Take a moment and identify which the direction of flow of your coolant will be. The one closest to the edge of the water block is the discharge. So the water will leave the block from there and enter from the one closest to the center. Keep that in mind. So since my water is coming in from the upper side of the board, I want this one on the upper side. So very simple, but very freaking important. You do not want to reverse flow the water, or you will be in trouble. All right, so now the last bits are pretty simple. We're adding 4 springs, 1 per corner. We're using these really fancy tighten-y kind of nuts to allow them to tighten down. They're hollowed out so that the springs go up inside. You don't really even see them. And 1 more nut someplace. Okay, there we go. So then we just evenly apply some pressure, tighten it down. And that should do it. So now you have the chipset water block and the CPU water block down, firm, snug. Everything looks great, and it is ready to be installed in the motherboard. By the way, it's heavy, so just keep in mind that you want to keep it well supported. There are other bits left over from the water block. Obviously, the leftover retainer, more plates for different CPUs, the water spreaders, most important parts if you plan to change them, and these are different standoffs, Allen key for getting the block apart. So that's it. I know it's kind of long and drawn out. This is both the EK chipset block and the EK water block for the CPU, and on the Asus Extreme motherboard. Thanks guys. See you later.